25th, 2019 Board of Selectmen meeting. Lake Cam is taping. Is anybody else taping? No. So our first item on the agenda is to meet with our superintendent of streets to discuss a few different things. One being a letter from Robert Palucci regarding road cuts for Columbia Gas, a contract with SciTech regarding engineering services for the landfill, and a request for a new administrative assistant position. So Frank, welcome. If you want to come to the podium so that Lake Cam can hear you, and we are good to go. So give us the overview. I don't know if you want to start with the blanket road opening permit for Columbia Gas.
Yeah, so we had, I guess, somewhat of some small issues with that, where there weren't any road openings being done or road cuts or trench permits being done, because it was kind of a question of whether it was actually in the road layout or on his property. Some of them actually were on his property ended up cutting into the road layout, which was actually the sidewalk, which I could say I went down there and I looked over it all, and he did do a good job. He, instead of just leaving the piece cut out of the sidewalk that was cut, he actually squared it all off, cut the entire sidewalk out in that section, which will all be replaced. So I guess this was done somewhat similar before in another project. So he approached me and asked if this was something that we could present.
Yeah, so we received a request that just says that he, like a blanket road opening, just in case he ends up in a position where he's coming onto, you know, the. Okay.
So I would still be fully involved, which is what I told him when he had come and talked to me about it. So I would still get informed prior to any work being done.
So we'd have a similar kind of blanket road opening permit that was done as if it was done on Kenneth Welch, where you would be overseeing and responsible for any and all of those conditions as well.
Yep.
And I know the last one was a $10,000 performance bond for it. Do you think that's adequate? Do you know what, I don't know, or John, if you have any
He's
comments?
not.
Well, right. Question to Franklin is, as the gas comes in, does it go to both sides of the road? That is, does it come in one side and loop around the other? Because the question I have is, once he starts to build on both sides of the road, which he has several locations that will be doing that, I'll assume, unless you tell me differently, he's got to cut across the road.
So this,
I don't know that.
with my understanding, is specifically for the project he's working on now. So when he goes across the road, I would say we would revisit this, because there's nothing going on there now.
So do you think
Right, so as he moves forward.
Well, so I think then what we probably want to do is just condition it with a timeline maybe on it, because this one was a blanket road opening permit for the duration of like a month and a half. So maybe, if this is the first phase, I don't know if we want to phase it out.
I know all the gas on that side of the road is within, basically on the line of the road layout and his property layout.
No, I pretty much go there every day. My question does the gas, like water, stay on one side of the road, and to get to the other, you have to dig it up?
I might be able to help on that, because when Taunton Water the taps are right on the property, and we thought Columbia Gas was, and I think each of the properties has the gas tie-ins. So I think it's already gone under the road, John. It's not into the property like the water.
No,
he's talking about the next
the issue is when he
phase.
starts to build on both sides of the road.
Right, I mean, on the other side, I think there should be a tap for gas already
Well,
there.
I don't know that.
So
Yeah.
could we put
Usually
this?
not.
Yeah,
Could we make
might-
this for this specific phase of the project and then revisit it
That's what I'm
on the
thinking,
next
just
phase of the
because
project
from-
where he crosses the road?
Right, because
I
my
haven't done
only
research
concern is
into
just the
that side.
dollar of the performance bond. That's my only question on that.
If he has to start digging the road up.
Yeah.
Right, then we want more than
Not now, I know what he's doing now. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
But we have decided, people obviously said, where's this road cut permits?
Yes.
Right, so
And
why
there
don't we
weren't
do
any.
this now for, I don't know if we have a duration as to, if we can find out from him, when this part of the project will be complete and when he's moving on to the next one. We can always just revisit it. So if we do a blanket road opening permit until, I don't know if it's June 30th or something for now, and then we kind of move, because I want to make sure that the performance bond is adequate if it results in a larger.
Yeah, so
kind of-
this is under what he's doing now, which is not cutting in the road at all.
Yep.
If anything, he may catch a sidewalk.
Yep.
Right.
Which we've already talked about, but it
Yep.
won't be anything to do with going in the road.
Okay, so maybe we can just condition it where if it
I would
does go
only-
into the
I would
road,
only
then
do
we
it for the
would.
ones that he has in process.
Well,
Yeah,
no.
and then I don't have a problem coming back possibly for the next phase of the project, and
Right.
that way I can do some
Okay.
research into what's going on that side of the
Right.
road.
I don't want to misguide anyone, that is, he might have pulled out a bunch of building permits that he hasn't started yet, but the buildings that he's doing on that side of the road, he's careful enough.
Yep.
Right.
I see that there's a long way to go,
Yeah.
and the bond
Yep.
should probably be significant.
The one thing that we're missing from this is typically Columbia Gas Construction Department
Yeah.
fills out an application with a dig safe number,
Yeah.
and they give us the check and they provide a plan, and we don't
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
plan, we don't have
Yeah.
any dig safe information.
Right, I think that has to happen. This
Yeah,
is a
and-
significant.
Well, this would all be
$50
some,
fee.
which is a great point, but I'm assuming this is the first step, and then we'd have to actually do this road opening with a plan, as she's saying, where each cut is gonna be along this property.
Yeah,
Well,
so,
I'm surprised that
Right, he has
Columbia
to do
Gas
that,
didn't already do
he has
it.
to
He has
do
to do
that
it.
for Columbia.
Yeah.
right, so why
Right,
don't
so he
we,
should be making copies.
I think the whole
And
point
obviously
is,
should be paying the fee.
yeah, I mean, I think the whole point is that you pay the fee, and then you have the performance bond in place, and then every step along the way, he's gonna have to go through the same plan, you know, the same numbers to get through the
Right.
process every time he has to do a curb cut anyways.
Columbia makes him do it
So-
for them. It's just a matter of photocopying the
Yeah, so
information.
if this is not in proper language to reflect that, then if we can just make sure that it is, because I don't have a problem with that, so that he doesn't have to come in front of us every single time, you know, or you don't have to come in front of us to ask for this every single time that he wants to do this within the phase of the project.
Well, Columbia should apply for it, and we could issue a blanket one to Columbia, but they would provide us with a plan showing us how many road cuts they're gonna do, what the dimensions are gonna be, the depths, all that stuff. But it would still be a blanket one, they would apply once, but then we would know how many they're doing, where they're gonna be, and we'd have an actual plan, so that Frank would have a plan, so when he goes out there to inspect them, he would know the work that was supposed to be done
Right,
versus
right.
what they did.
I mean, he did go into the road because I had to make sure that he covered it up because it was plow season. You know, they had a metal plate there. You know, he went a few feet into the road, but having said that, I
think
don't
that
want to
was
give him a
separate-
blanket
That was
permit.
separate.
Well, I think what it is really allowing us to have Franklin, so we
Yeah, but it
changed
really-
this, right? So that now all of a sudden, isn't Franklin the one who's responsible for, how do we do this? Remember when?
The road cuts, but it's
Right.
really the Columbia Gas one that I think
No,
Tracy's
he does
alluding to.
curb cuts.
Okay, so
Road
curb cuts,
openings,
but
the
road
board-
openings, it's still us,
And then Franklin's not
permit.
sure either, it's a $50 permit fee for one road cut.
for one, yeah.
Is it gonna be every time, because Franklin's gonna be going out there several times, I don't know what, do we just do a one-time $50?
Why would it be one
It
fee
would
for
be
several openings?
every
Yeah,
single
right.
time it's
Every
open,
sin- yeah.
right? So every time it requires another permit and a dig safe number, you know, the same information would come here. I think it's probably looking at it just to say, how can we expedite the process so that you don't have to come in front of the Board of Selectmen
Every
every single
time,
time?
yeah.
Right.
I think that's really what we're trying to do.
We're not trying to
because-
change the requirements of the applicant, we're
Right.
only trying to streamline the process.
Right, exactly, because if we only meet every 2 weeks, and all of a sudden there's something that needs to come in. So I don't mind if we can give that authority over to Franklin to approve them under the normal
Process,
process.
yeah.
So who would be supplying the bond? Because Columbia,
Columbia Gas.
Columbia isn't gonna give us a bond for an application they haven't applied for.
Well, it would be every time they come in front of us. So this, we wouldn't be issuing a permit tonight, we'd just be
Oh, okay.
authorizing Franklin to issue the permits in accordance with our standard procedures, really.
Predetermined standards,
So that way it doesn't have to come in front of the board every single time.
right.
And that, you know, you can determine the amount of the performance bond, you know, every time it comes in front of you. I just think that,
I thought we were gonna give a one permit to Columbia Gas for, say, 5 road cuts on Riverside Drive.
I mean, we could if they give us all plans with dig safe numbers, but if they're not
We
doing
don't
that,
have- yeah, we don't
then
have
we
any of that
can't do it. So
information.
it's really, all we're doing is just giving Franklin the ability to sign these permits if that's okay and allowed, so that we don't have to deal with this every single time. I have no problem with that.
Right, and it's only for a temporary amount of time, it's for just this phase. So the board will have the ability to revisit the process and tweak it for the next phase if it needs to.
So what time frame do we want to put on this then?
Well, do you wanna run it through, you think June 30th for now?
Of this
And then,
year?
right, and then we can
Yeah, I'm-
revisit
I'm
it
o- I'm
after
okay
June
with that,
30th.
Because he's still on one side of the road.
Right, but what we're really doing is we're authorizing Franklin to sign the road opening permits for any,
Work done between now
work
and
done
June
between
30.
now and June 30th
I'll-
with regard to this particular project
I'll-
Right.
and under the conditions that you specify.
Not to exceed
I
this
feel,
phase.
I feel
And
comfortable.
the road cut you're talking about where he did go in the road was a separate road cut and permit. That had nothing to do with what was going on with this.
I don't even
which he
think we
filed.
had a permit for that.
We did not have a.
We didn't even
No.
have a permit for that.
No.
The road cut,
No, we did
Nope.
not. We got it
it
after
was
the work
for
was done.
drainage,
After the work was done.
for the drainage.
Oh, no, for the gas, we got it after.
No, see, the road cut, where he cut into the actual road was the drainage road cut and permit that he applied for, and we
I
turned
think there's
in.
an advantage to having you deal with this directly.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when
Right.
it gets pulled into the town
Right.
hall, not
Right.
to say that you guys did anything wrong, but
Right.
we don't need 20 people making a decision that you could make every day.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable going to the June 30. I don't want to make it so blanket
Right.
that we can do a 3-year project without Columbia Gas doing the dig safes. They come to us.
They have to do
Come to
all
us and
that.
you,
Yeah.
right. They have to
But
do
they'll
that,
come to
right.
Franklin
Right.
instead, so,
Yeah.
so I guess I'll make the motion.
Isn't John LeBlanc's project right next door?
He'll have to
It's
do
the same.
the same.
Because we haven't heard from John, so I'm thinking,
Maybe he
okay,
doesn't have a problem with it.
okay.
Yeah. So, I'll entertain a motion that we allow or authorize Franklin to sign the road opening permits on this project, subject to all the standard normal procedures, between now and June 30th, 2019.
I'll second that.
Uh,
And then we'll revisit it.
Do you,
Yep.
I guess I
do
made
you
a
want to
motion.
limit it to just this phase?
Well, it's limited to this particular project. Well, I guess, I don't know if they are phases, if they're phased projects that we're aware of, or if it's really,
Yeah, it's a phase project.
I thought Bob was gonna be here tonight, so,
He was gonna be here, I don't know what happened.
okay.
yeah, we can put it through to June 30th.
That's fine.
I
This
agree,
phase,
I agree
yeah.
with that. No, I
Yeah.
agree with what you
Okay, so I made the motion, John seconded
Yeah.
it. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye?
Aye. Okay. Second up, our SciTech engineering services for the landfill. So we, this was a long time ago, it seems like now, that we talked about a contract with SciTech regarding really monitoring, I guess, on the landfill, and I'm sure you know a lot more about, what this contract entails and whether we wanted to continue a contract for a couple of years. So do you have any thoughts or?
So there's two parts in this contract. I'm not sure but the first part of it is the post-closure, which is basically the next step to the closure of which is on page 3, even though they're not numbered, the SciTech environmental cost, which is basically the post-closure, which is what was submitted to DEP to get to a point where instead of every month having them come out and do a report and send it into DEP and go through that process, by doing this post-closure, which is the next step in the closing of the landfill, we would put that down to once a year. And even that once a year cost, which is our annual report, would be about 2/3. So right now, it's roughly $800 every 2 months, and then $1,000 to $1,500 at the end of the year for the annual. And that'll get rid of 6 or 5 of the $800 a month payment, $800 every 2 month payments, and reduce the annual to about 2/3. And they're doing that by making sure we're not contaminating any groundwater, making sure there's no waterways being contaminated, make sure all the gas releases in compliance, things of that nature, which are all things that were requested through this post-closure permit that was already submitted to DEP, and that's what they sent us back for us to do the investigation into, which I kind of jumped the gun on this already, just so we have so we know. I wasn't aware that this contract had expired, which I should have. And I already did some of the work. And so that's kind of this position I'm in right now.
And I think, if I may, Mitzi, going forward, the money that we'll save,
Yeah, and the money was already budgeted for this, so I'm not actually asking
Yeah.
for the money for this. The money's already in the transfer budget this year.
Yep.
And it's already put in the transfer budget for next year.
Gotcha.
And then, like Rita just said, over the next, as we know, these numbers, I'm sure if we keep waiting on this, will go up and up and up.
Yep.
And I'm sure even our bi-monthly, or every other month, costs will go up and up as time goes on. So, you know, it'll take us a few years to make back the money on this initial investment, but over time, it's gonna definitely save us a lot of money. And then we'll just be budgeting very minimal for the post-closure
Yep.
moving forward after that.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the Sitex updated proposal and contract.
I'll second that.
So moved.
With just a
Yep,
discussion.
Yep.
What's in front of us, the 23,400 annually, page 3.
Nope, the 6,200 is the annual.
That's the.
Right now.
Okay.
Which is
Okay,
basically a
okay.
little more than what it actually is annual,
Perfect.
but they leave a
I get
buffer
it.
in there for like, in case something happens with the
Yep.
gas, they gotta do an extra.
Okay. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and your next item is related to the new.
I'm sorry, and in that vote, authorize me to sign it because it's
authorize
over
Rita to
10.
sign it.
Okay?
Perfect. So the next item is to review your job description in front of us for an administrative assistant to superintendent of streets. So we all have a revised job description for the actions that you have currently in this job. So give us a little bit of what you want to do and why you want to do it.
All right, I'm looking to make Jennifer Jewell, or create the position of an admin assistant, basically for Jennifer Jewell, to go from a clerk to an admin assistant. I believe that she's definitely taken on a lot more responsibilities definitely over the last year, and then even prior to that. Just like anything else, there's been a few hiccups along the way, but she's been showing herself to be more than capable and more than willing to do whatever I ask of her. She's definitely very competent in her day-to-day duties. She's willing to take on more responsibilities wherever needed. So I think it's more than reasonable to request that she goes from a clerk to an admin assistant. And that being said, it ends up being like if everything goes to plan, it's like a $2,000 a year raise, which will be split between the transfer station and the highway department, which has already been put in the budget, just as a.
Yeah, so we'd have to just contemplate this change, send it to the union, have their review. When they come back, then we have to post it, and then anyone can apply
Yep.
for that position. So internal first, external after, and then we can kind of move on with that. So I will entertain a motion to, I don't know what we have to do
Approve the job
first.
description for the administrative assistant to the superintendent of streets union position with classification at level 2.
That's a good one. I'll second
I will.
it. Let's, any discussion? None? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
And then what Franklin would like to do is have Jen go to, be at $21.89 an hour.
Yep. Which is the dollar
The
raise.
position
The
will be,
position.
if the union approves.
Right.
Yes, And that's
Specific
what's in his
position on a
budget.
specific employee.
right.
Okay, yep.
Okay.
Level 2, step 4. Okay, great. I think that's it. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right. Agenda item number 2. Since I lost my agenda, that's fantastic.
Okay.
It's here somewhere.
Ruth,
All right.
Josephine is there.
So Josephine, we are meeting with you from the Middleborough Housing Authority to discuss the affordable housing lottery for Nemasket River Landing. So welcome, and give us a little bit of an overview as to what's happening here with our newest affordable housing.
So we have 6 affordable units in this phase. They'll be selling for $187.50. The condo fee is $150 on it. We have started giving out applications as of March 21st. The lottery period ends on May 21st, so we have to have a completed application by that date. The lottery will be held on June 17th. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Is it for Lakeville?
You have to income
Is-
qualify for it.
Yeah, is there a preference on,
There's a local preference.
local?
Okay.
Okay.
So not more than 70% of the units can go to local residents. Local means you live, work, or have a child in the school system.
Okay.
Josephine, how many applications do you typically get for an offering this size?
So these are for sale.
That limits the pool? I shouldn't put words in
No,
your
no,
mouth, I'm just curious.
So anybody can apply.
Yep,
The last lottery we held, which was for rental units, we had over 100 applications. Of those, only 17 were in the lottery, and of the 17, only 2 qualified. So,
wow, okay, sure.
you know, with a for sale, the biggest thing is you have to qualify for a mortgage as well as the income guidelines, so that's going to restrict some people. But we, just in a couple of days, we've received requests, almost 50 requests for applications.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
that's
great.
really good. We were promoting it, we knew it was coming, so we've been promoting it for months. So we do have a lot of interest. So that's great. Hopefully they sell. We've given it to the town of Lakeville. It should be on Lakeville Helping Lakeville. It's on Middleborough Helping Middleborough. Lot of websites. We're getting a lot of feedback, just even phone calls at this point. We have an info session at our office, 8 Benton Street, on Wednesday at 1, and another one at 6, and at the Lakeville Library on April 4th at 6 p.m. But people can just call or email the office to get an application. We can email it back, they can pick it up. The email address is housing@middleboroughha.org, and it's Middleborough, just B-O-R-O.
The correct way.
Well, no, the correct way.
I know, I didn't mean to start that, but.
So we anticipate at least one person from a bank to be at the info sessions, possibly from a first-time homebuyer seminar. So there's a lot of grants out there for people to get down payment and closing cost assistance so that they might not have to pay PMI.
And
Nice.
Lakeville participates in the home consortium, so Lakeville has some first-time home buyer money, and they've increased that from 10,
To 15,
I thought it was higher
And
than
rates
that.
just went down, so that's a good thing, too.
yeah. Because it's first-time home buyers and affordable, rates are sort of restricted. It can't be more than 2% than the going rate. So if you get someplace else, that's restricted too. You thought it was more than 15?
Didn't they say that at the meeting last week? I thought it was a $10,000 increase.
It used to be.
And it's not just closing costs now, too. Can't part of it be for the,
So down payment
Down payment,
assistance, closing
yeah.
costs, and so if you participate in there's so many different
Yeah.
programs, but there's, one of them is only put 5% down, which the 15,000 would cover, and then it's no PMI and no points.
right.
So if somebody's never bought a home, they don't necessarily know that really can add a lot to your mortgage payment.
So do they have to have children in the school system? Or can it be seniors that can buy this?
But,
Because you mentioned school
so
earlier.
the requirements are live or work in the town, or have an offer to work in the town,
Yeah.
or a child in the school system. So these are 3-bedroom, 2.5 baths.
Okay,
So the first preference goes to people that need a 3-bedroom.
okay.
Then it would go to people that need a 2-bedroom, and then a single person or a couple.
So when might they be moving in? Certainly there's closing, there's legalities to do. So is this like September?
Probably August, September.
Okay.
So we have June 17th is the lottery.
Yep.
That's the date we have. Our office has to do some paperwork, has to be submitted to the state. So I'm assuming 3 weeks to do all that. Then the applicant will be given a letter, and they have 60 days from the date of that letter to sign the purchase and sale. So it could be August 17th, and it could be sooner than that, but unlikely to be too much sooner.
Perfect. No, I know the builders obviously are anxious to get them occupied.
Absolutely, but the requirements on the affordable lottery are very
Takes
strict,
time.
so it
Yep.
cannot be less than 60 days for a marketing period.
Great,
So that's a big thing.
Yep.
thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, I will probably be back in near future on the next one.
Excellent. All right, agenda item number 3, this is to review the warrant articles that have been submitted for the annual town meeting scheduled for June 3rd, 2019. We have 4 requests that have been put in front of us. I believe there was to be another one, if I'm not mistaken, that maybe isn't here.
For Lake Cam?
For the stipends for the school
No, that's
committee?
in the budget.
It's in the
Or
budget.
Did you want a separate warrant article for that? I just have a line item in the budget.
No, we don't need a separate line.
Yeah.
We don't need to do a warrant article for that.
Yeah, guess we don't have to.
We don't want to do that. Right, that's my opinion.
Right.
I think
It's in the budget.
didn't I put it under elected officials? Under
Yeah,
budget
but
summary?
doesn't that then lead to the fact that, just if we check on that to see if that results in what's considered to be an elected stipended position that would be subject to health insurance, because the point of it was to not be subject to health insurance? And if you just put it in the budget, does that change
I think
it?
you vote, the board voted, it's up to the board.
Okay,
of selectmen.
Yeah, no,
Not
And you
to-
voted
not to
that it would
allow
not
health
be-
benefits.
okay, so we already put that in there,
Right.
okay.
But-
So the first item is a request from the region for a sum of money to pay for the cost of an engineering study of the boiler at Grays, and a sum of money to pay for the cost of the replacement of the boilers at Grays. Second is a request from Superintendent Aaron Polanski to approve the Old Colony Regional Agreement as proposed by Old Colony's legal counsel, which we've already talked about. The third, I guess maybe if we have some clarification on this, was a request from the Middleborough Lakeville Herring Fishery Commission to fund $5,000 for the purpose of weed eradication and herring habitat improvement for the Nemasket River. And then we have some items from ZBRAC requesting some zoning bylaw amendments related to temporary licenses, site plan review, subsection 673, procedure for residential, section 10, and a new section for open space design developments. So we have a number of different pieces of information in front of us. I guess the first one we'll talk about is the boiler engineering study, which is, we don't have numbers yet from the region, and they'd like to have us put an article on town meeting. I guess it's a capital article.
See.
This is just the engineering study, though. I mean, is that typically what's done? We don't know this. I wish Nate was here.
I did
was gonna
talk to
call him,
Nate
but I
about it
forgot.
today.
Okay, good.
He felt, okay, do the study, but how can you go ahead and approve the amount for the boiler without knowing
What
the
the amount
cost?
Can't, but this is just for a study.
Two, they were asking, it's two
Right, right,
different
and to pay
ones.
for the cost, but you can't do that.
Yeah, it's two
You don't know what the
different.
cost is.
Right, because we
You
won't
can
have
study.
one versus the other.
Rita, who were you just talking about?
Nate,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
he said he talked to you too, John.
Oh, right, right.
The second article
Right,
was
we
just
we
like-
had back a couple of weeks ago from memory, whenever the school was in front of us on that
Right.
Assawamsett thing, we had suggested that they immediately call this Ralph Gifford guy, who I took a sample of a proposal he recently did for the library. His cost to evaluate, we'll call it the boiler system, throw out a number, maybe $3,000. None of this is a capital anyways.
Right.
You go get that done and then come up with a
Right.
number. Because what you want to do, and we had said that, now they can come up with a different name, what you don't want to do is call up the manufacturer. Because you want someone to evaluate it that doesn't sell the equipment,
Right, well,
because I know what that will be.
Yeah.
You need a new boiler.
yeah,
Right.
I thought they were coming in front of us because they were going to have a cost, and their plan was to come in front of us for a capital request on the town meeting, as opposed to this,
Right.
which I
This, to
don't,
me, actually, when I think about it, it's our portion of a cost, right? Because it's Gray's. We're not responsible for the full cost of a
Well,
capital improvement
Right.
on a school that's.
I
region.
don't know.
no, no,
I
that's
don't know.
debt, that's debt on the existing Gray's debt, this would be different.
Have they given this same thing to?
I have
to-
Well, that's
No
my point,
idea.
is that's the first question, because they
Yeah.
should be.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the
I
second,
assumed they did.
the second question is, why can't this come out of
Their budget.
their budget? Shouldn't this come out of their budget, because it's under $5,000?
Sure.
Or
Maybe.
is that only specific to the two elementary schools? But still, if they're trying to figure out a number for a new capital thing,
It's not a
wouldn't-
capital thing.
right, but the boiler is, right?
Well,
But
maybe,
this isn't.
maybe. I mean, the thing is.
This definitely isn't,
No,
though.
they need to determine if this is, in my opinion, this was a very interesting article to read, because I wasn't sure
You
what it
picked that up?
meant. Yeah, in terms of,
And
why
I
don't you
know-
fund through town meeting the study to determine how much it's gonna cost us for capital, where I thought the last conversation we had was they would get a number to us, that then it would become part of the capital request potentially for town meeting, which I'm
Right.
okay with that second, but not with the first.
Well,
So, right,
And-
so why
and
don't
even
we
though
just say no?
Even
on
though
this
it's
first
dated
one?
March 11th, I just got it when I was,
And
Yeah.
we can.
The only thing I would be somewhat okay with putting a placeholder potentially on would be, but we haven't even discussed the capital, and we haven't decided what we're gonna do in capital. They can come to us through a normal capital request.
Right.
If this
Oh.
comes to us with a boiler, it'll just go on a capital,
This doesn't seem like this was,
Request.
that this is the typical process, and I really think that the question needs to be answered, is this a split cost with Freetown? And secondly, why would we pay for a study? You tell us what you need and what the number is, and then we'll talk. I mean, that's typically how it happens.
yeah, so I'm okay with leaving that one alone.
Skip it.
but no, and don't put either one in.
Right, correct. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if they come to us with a capital cost for replacement of a boiler, we can make the determination when we fund all of our capital projects in the town, if that gets funded through the normal capital projects
Right.
methodology. I don't need a separate.
Can a boiler be replaced there with the green energy money?
Yes.
Right, so that's another thing,
So
too.
the whole
There's-
thing,
Isn't that old?
listen, we begged them
Well, it
to
doesn't
give,
matter, it's not working,
we begged them
so-
to give a capital request, and they did that.
We didn't,
They
I
said
did
they
not
had none.
beg
Mitzi
them.
begged them to come up with
I
something.
didn't.
You did.
See, how
We'll look
you-
at the tape. But having said that, listen, you don't go spend $1 million. A boiler in Aponequid is $1 million, because we looked at that, we just filed the energy grant this week. So to do a boiler is $1 million. Now, Gray's is smaller, and there really seems to be 2 boilers plus a significant
Yeah.
hot water heater. This says they can fix any one of those or replace any one of them. This whole thing is, you need to get someone who doesn't have any skin in the game to evaluate it, give some guidance, and even if someone says, I want $1 million, trust me, I'm gonna say, is there another alternative?
Yeah.
Right, and
So,
there definitely
okay.
is. if
And
it's-
there's
if it's
another
green.
So-
alternative through
Do
the
we wanna
energy
meet with
grant.
them?
We asked Seth Pickering, the boilers fall under that, because we didn't have a boiler problem. We didn't go after that grant. We looked at that grant for Assawamsett and didn't need it.
Right.
So the key is that they get Freetown to become a green community. And that way there's $500,000 worth of
So-
grants that can be done.
So why don't I just talk to them at the next regional FinCom meeting?
Good idea.
Does that work, John?
Yes,
When is
yes.
Are you okay with that? I mean, I'm not making a
Yes.
decision for anybody, but it's just saying, look, the board decided not to move that forward, and we were under the impression that you were going to come back to us with a cost, that if that is something you
But-
want,
but
we
if
can
s-
talk about it as part of our.
But if
normal
someone
capital
filled the
project.
cost in and said, next week they come back, it's $1 million.
But
Trust me,
also-
there's a lot of questions.
But also
Exactly, I don't want it on the
explore-
article, I don't want it on the warrant for
No,
that
but also
purpose.
explore the idea of the green communities.
Yeah, we've done
thing
that
again.
multiple times too, where.
No, but it didn't
with
Nate apply
Freetown.
for them?
No, but that's for the high school. So we applied for $250,000 of energy improvements for the Green Communities Grant for the high school.
No,
The
I
issue is,
understand.
right, the issue is, as we've been talking, is that Freetown needs to adopt the stretch code, which is gonna take them a while before they can become a green community, and they can then apply for grants
And
for
they
things like graves and.
Probably won't
So,
become a green community.
so we might be the ones kind of slowly doing this, but that could be something we could apply for next year related to Grays, so.
Right,
I'm
right.
good. Number 2, we already talked about the old colony.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a
Yes.
question on that one?
Nope.
Okay,
okay to put on.
yeah, good to go. Number 3, we were trying to get clarification, right, on whether or not Middleborough was giving an additional $5,000?
Yes, I
And they
did.
are?
It did not close out to the general fund. I talked to Bob.
Okay.
It's still there.
Okay.
And they are moving forward with their 5,000
For this year?
FY '20.
Okay, does anyone have, Okay.
The problem I have is they were going to start pulling weeds with the first $5,000 or $10,000.
right, yeah, all
So
the
it
permits.
says for the purpose of weed eradication and herring habitat improvement. If this is only to get permits, I'm not going there.
I know, that's
And
what happened
I said
last year.
that up in the beginning. If they get on this merry-go-round of permits and they spend 10 of our money and 10 of Middleborough's money, and no one ever pulled a weed out of the river, next year you'll say, well, I'm already into it for 10. We gotta do
You
another
just can't.
5.
You can't, you gotta say no. I mean, I think that I think that they thought they could get a machine in the water with the next set of money, and they came into this green, for lack of a better way of putting it, not knowing the giant morass of
Permitting.
governmental
Well-
oversight.
I would've
So I'm
put
okay
the,
to
I
give
would've
them a
put the
pass.
damn boat on the water, start pulling weeds.
I know,
Let someone
right? I'm
call
willing to
up.
give them a pass and give them one more shot, because I think that this is a good project, and I wanna see what they can do.
Can I just reword it and say that it's not for permits?
I think that's fine.
The purpose of weed eradication, this is
Yep.
not for permit, I want to specifically say, this is not permits.
Yeah, well, if,
I
so
can't
if
say
they're.
that it's not part of it's gonna be, it's
I
become
think
very
that
expensive for them to do
Would
that.
hobble the project.
Yeah.
I would,
You're
provide
happy,
them-
you're happy
provide them-
giving them more money for
I am, knowing
permits?
firsthand how we started out with the idea of $1 million police station and it turned into an $8 million one. I can say that if their $5,000 weed eradication system turns into 10,000 and it stops there, I'm okay with that.
Okay,
Yeah, and I think hopefully, again, we'll hear back from the state, and if we do get a community compact grant, then that can be, I mean, that would be the start of accessing the money, that the goal will eventually be weed eradication.
Yeah,
So
okay. So you want to do the 5,
I'm okay with that.
okay?
The 4th item we have in front of us, so I don't know, Aaron, if you want to give a little overview of these 4 ZBRAC items that
Yeah, they're
are-
all housekeeping. They're all housekeeping issues that we just ask that you support. That's what I'm gonna say at town meeting. It seems to work.
Except
Alright.
for the solar photovoltaic installations overlay district.
That's just a housekeeping.
That's
That
a
actually is
housekeeping.
just a housekeeping thing, believe it or not.
So,
I'll give a quick overview.
yeah,
So the memo, Aaron, to the planning board, I think is a good,
Oh,
missed
now
it
you
all.
show up
we're done.
an hour late.
We already discussed it.
He had a few things.
He
No.
said this?
no, I told you 6:30.
Oh, it was just,
Not by me.
Nope.
Bob. You're all set though, Bob. So we talked about 4 things. Temporary licenses was to amend the temporary licenses. This would allow Nate to grant a temporary license
So
on
we-
our behalf.
yeah.
So same idea that we
Yep.
just dealt with the first agenda item. We're just providing the authority to Nate to make that call. And the reason why is that a lot of times these requests come in and they want to act on them that day because it's when somebody's house is damaged or burned.
Yep.
And they need a house. The second thing is a large-scale ground-mounted solar overlay. We just wanted to add some language to that that gives the planning board the ability to require screening of the area. So what we had on Crooked Lane was no language relative to screening, so you have no screening. If you have language that gives them the ability to utilize that or acquire that, then I think you get a better outcome. Now, there aren't too many spots, if any, that our bylaw applies to, so we may not see any more solar, but in the event that we do, it gives the planning board the ability to screen it.
So is this the existing, I mean, this is someone else's.
Bob Mather brought a
Right.
sample in from
Yeah,
another town.
so this is just
Okay.
the sample language,
Yeah,
is
okay.
right here.
Right, the one that's been a problem in other towns is the large-scale ground-mounted solar. The builders are arguing that theirs is not large-scale. You have to put a definition of large-scale, whether you do,
We do have it in the bylaw.
well, what's large-scale?
I don't have my zoning bylaw.
That's the point is.
Yeah, whatever it is. but
What it is.
I'll make a note of that.
Right,
and
right, so
revisit
you
that,
have to
'cause it's-
pick that to make sure it's appropriate. And it should be stated
Yeah,
here, reference it somewhere. That's the one that gets all the towns in trouble.
yep. So then the last thing is this open space bylaw. We, meaning ZBRAC, want to develop or incorporate or adopt a cluster zoning bylaw that would allow developers to build more densely developed neighborhoods that allow for more open space. So the idea is that somebody has 100 acres, maybe as a matter of right, they can build 50 houses on it. That's not a good number, 30 houses on it. Instead of having them on 1.6 acre lots, they may put them on 1 acre lots and sustain more open space, more woods or whatnot. We don't have something like that. There's definitely a need, or I should say, a desire for that within the construction community or the developer community. And there are some parcels of land that would be ideally suited for that. The planning board has always been kind of waiting for a developer to come in with a proposed bylaw. They've talked about 3 different ones that they've considered, but they kind of stalled out on that process. We wanted to start this process anew, but then when we learned that they had sample bylaws and they'd had these conversations, we thought to ourselves, well, why don't you guys just handle it? Because you're the ones that are best suited for it in the sense that you're gonna have to work through it with the developer. So they're gonna start having this on their agenda to talk through what they wanna see that look like, and then they'll get that going.
Yeah, I mean, we had one of these that was designed, I thought, by Serpide,
Yeah.
like
It is.
40
Yeah,
years
that's
ago
one of
or
the
something,
three.
so
Yeah,
that's,
that's one of
Yeah, I
the
brought that one here.
Okay, yeah, and I think that, the only concern would really be just ensuring that we don't end up in a situation where now we have a gigantic drainage lot that the town owns, that there's some measure by which, when this open space design is constructed, that there's a deed related to a portion of that open space related to each plot, because.
Common area.
Or the common
Right.
area, yeah, because that's just the biggest concern when you kind of do it this way, is that we could end up with a huge drainage lot that.
This, I
that's not
think,
taken care of.
first of all, I support cluster zoning wholeheartedly. But when I say, however, this is a game changer for the town of Lakeville.
Oh,
And
totally.
I don't know that it can be on a June town meeting floor.
Yeah, it
There's
won't.
so many questions to be asked and answered about what you're trying to accomplish, how you accomplish it. So,
Right.
I don't know, I
Yeah, that's fair,
agree
that's
with it.
fair, That's fair. We didn't.
This is gigantic.
Yeah, I mean, we gave it to the planning board to have them go through their process with the understanding that we wanted to get the ball rolling and that it wasn't likely that it would happen in June, but we wanted to at least kick it to them to see.
Right, I mean.
So I agree with that.
First of all, it's what you'll end up doing, but, wow, this is, a lot of this is irrelevant,
Yeah.
and maybe a lot
It was
should
just,
be added to it.
Right. Yeah, no, that's
Nate-
just the start of that.
So do we agree to do a article, or do we not agree? I mean, this needs public meetings, I think.
Well, all of these do.
I mean,
All of them do.
Right.
this is a massive undertaking.
But Nate and I agreed that
The first 3 you did.
it'll have to be the
aren't.
fall town meeting.
Yeah, the first
Right.
3 you do aren't
Yeah,
massive
no,
undertakings.
absolutely. I think this, again, this is just this was just included, and I don't know if the memo was specific to March on this, and if it was, I apologize, because that wasn't the intention for the last one. The last one is a huge thing, and we want to have plenty of time and plenty of ability for the public to weigh in on what they want to see happen with it, to make sure it's really a good proposal for the town and that it will get support at town meeting. So, I mean, the first three, I think, are the,
Right, I have
are
no
the June
problem, I have
ones.
no problem with the first three.
But I talked to
The
the
last one's
secretary
really up
this
to the planning
morning,
board.
and I updated Kathy, we realize that the last one
Yeah.
won't make it, so.
No, but
So we'll do
right,
one, 2,
but
and
we
3.
do want to forge ahead and make it at some point in
Right.
time, because it will stall again.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Right, we can aim for the
Absolutely.
fall. Can you just give a, 2-second overview on number 3? What's this change for? The site plan review for the residential procedure.
Was this a 3?
The third
Oh, did I skip
item?
one?
Yeah. The applicants for the building permit for new construction.
Oh, yeah, so this is kind of funny. So this is a typo. This really is a housekeeping matter.
To dig in.
So if you look at the existing bylaw, anything that's happening in a residential lot
3,000
that
square.
involves more than 3,000 square feet triggers site plan review from the planning board. Now, it was supposed to be 30,000 square feet,
Right.
but they missed a zero.
Right.
So in our conversation, we said, well, why don't we make it an acre? Which is what we did.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, I'm good.
Housekeeping.
So 1, 2, and 3 will
yeah,
push forward.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Agenda item number 4, this is to revisit the opioid abuse prevention grant and memo of understanding with the New Bedford Health Department. So we tabled this because we wanted to know how much time it would take with our Board of Health agent related to what Kevin would be doing, how many hours per week, what would happen, and how much time would it take of Kevin's in order to participate in this group. From reading what we have that was kind of brought back to us, I still don't understand it. Other than,
We don't understand it, we don't
that
do it,
I guess it will
yeah.
be 1 to 2 hours, per month, and then a quarterly basis of 1 to 2 hours. So we're really looking at, say, 24 to, I guess, 30 hours a year.
But that's the minimum to
That's the
not do
minimum.
anything. So this
Right.
line was very interesting. The amount of time spent on this work outside of these meetings is dependent upon the town's capacity and readiness to implement strategies locally or participate in regional efforts.
Yeah, I still
It's
don't.
not a number. We have no way of knowing what kind of burden this is gonna be on the Board of Health agent to do this. And who's even gonna track his progress on this?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind talking to Kevin and the Board of Health just to see if they really want to do this. I mean, do they want to participate in this?
Yes, they voted to.
I know they
the
did, but
board.
do they even know what it is? And that's the point of this
Should've kept
answer.
Bob, yeah.
We don't even know what it is. We
I-
don't know, have any idea whether this is gonna obligate him to do stuff that they didn't necessarily envision or understand that he was obligating himself to do, or we were obligating him to do by being a part of it. It's not that I don't think the idea is a good idea, but I can't imagine signing on to something like that without having more concrete details. That's my opinion, but it won't matter if we table it because I won't have any say in the
Yeah,
final
I
decision.
think, I mean, I'd like to have that conversation with them just so that we know.
Right.
you
No, I
know.
agree. I wouldn't jump on
It's still
board
so vague.
with it that,
I can
yeah.
schedule the Board of Health for
Yeah, if we
Tuesday's
could do
meeting.
that, that would be great. Table that again. Agenda item number 5, discuss the comments to Mass Housing for Oldfield Estates 40B. So we have some comment letters that we've received from the conservation agent, building commissioner, from our fire chief. I don't know if we've received anything else from the planning board, superintendent of streets, and the
No.
police chief yet. So we actually have to give a response letter to Mass Housing this week. So this gives us the opportunity to kind of comment on the 40B development happening within our community on Route 79, Rhode Island Road. So did anybody have any questions or comments that they wanted to ensure that we were addressing? No?
I don't know.
So I guess we can just write the same letter. It says that the last letter that we wrote, the Board of Selectmen comments were really related to, we have none at this time. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll have some later. Please reserve our right to allow us to comment later.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that. We
Okay,
can include
and then-
from all the other individuals their concerns. Agenda item number 6, review the site plan for 415 Millennium Circle. So we received a proposed site plan for 415. The existing building will remain with some modifications. Fencing will be added to the site with additional landscaping. The planning board is looking for any comments that we may have, and we have the plan in front of us. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
No.
John?
No.
Me neither. Okay, great. We reviewed it. Excellent. No comments. Agenda item number 7, let's review and vote on the amended charges to the police station building.
They,
Is that a comment?
they are having a, this is Twisted Growers.
Yes.
They are having a public outreach meeting this Thursday here at the Council of Aging at 6 o'clock. Just one minute, that's all.
All right. So agenda item number 7, so we are reviewing and voting on the amended charges to the Police Station Building Committee and the Zoning Bylaw Review Advisory Committee. We had changed the charge in the March 11th meeting to allow the board to have a member of the Board of Selectmen or its designee on these committees. All the appointments are still subject to expire the end of July. So I will entertain a motion to approve or ratify the vote that we made at March 11th meeting to amend the charges to the Police Station Building Committee and the Zoning Bylaw Review Advisory Committee.
I'm seconding that.
I guess Aaron made it. John
No,
seconded
I
it.
didn't. I have a point of order.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wasn't this on the agenda?
No,
no.
What was on the agenda?
under old business, you wanted to discuss it, or new business. I think we had it under just new business, but
Okay.
not really.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I
It
thought-
wasn't
stay
in
on,
this
but-
particular form by which we were changing
Yeah.
the charge.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll make that motion and John seconded
Second.
it. Discussion, John?
Nope.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
All right, agenda item number 8, request from the town clerk for the renewal of junk dealer, collector, and auctioneer licenses. So every year, we have this list. If these are renewed, the licenses would expire on May 1st, 2019. The licenses are as such, and I will entertain a motion to approve. Anthony and Dorita Morris, 33 Myrick Street, an auctioneer license, junk dealer license, and a junk collector license. Hugh and Judy Rogers for Dad's Treasures, 201 County Street, junk dealer license and a junk collector license. Robin Marks and Donald Bernier Jr., 61 Rhode Island Road, junk dealer license and a junk collector license. And Christine Ann Goyette, 330 Bedford Street, for a junk dealer license and a junk collector license.
Second that?
So moved.
All right,
So
any
moved.
discussion?
Yeah, second.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda item number 9, review and vote to renew the earth removal permits for Glenn Crystalline and TL Edwards, and stockpile permits for Alan Butler's Loam. We have received renewal applications for the earth removal permits for Glenn Crystalline at 1 Elliott's Way and TL Edwards, 435 Bedford Street. I will entertain a motion to approve those permits to expire March 31st, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We also received a stockpile permit renewal application from Alan Butler for his loam at 1 Susan Lane. I will entertain a motion to approve this permit to expire March 31st, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion on this? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, next up. Review and vote to approve the selectmen meeting minutes of December 4th, 2018. I'll entertain a motion to approve said minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. New business. We have a couple items of new business. We have an update on the master plan workshop that was held on March 16th, and an update on the MVP grant workshop held on March 20th, and I have an ant crawling on my stuff. That's new business as well.
I just wanted to say,
Exactly.
John was at the master plan workshop. Just to say that we had 45 people signed in, but I think we had at least 50
Oh, I think
people
so.
there.
Yeah.
It was a really good turnout.
Critical
I
mass.
It really, we had to set up
11,000.
extra tables and chairs, so thank the residents for that. They liked the sign at the intersection that said, "Do you really care?" Several of them said, when you go around the room and ask, how'd you hear about this?
Why don't you put that up for the town meeting? Maybe the people come to the town
Do you really
meeting.
care to
Yeah.
have it as a town meeting?
Really care.
I'm not sure.
So I
See what
just,
happens. Trying to get it to move.
Or if
there'll be
you
one more
apply.
workshop.
Yeah.
No.
be another
You really
workshop
care, and if you do,
in
why?
June.
Busy trying to save the ant. All
Right.
right,
So, and Lorraine's
sorry, I
gonna
was
give the
sharing.
update on the
Okay, great, okay, next.
MVP workshop.
I was sharing for a second by
I just
accident.
included just the activity sheet that brought us to our workshop that we held on the 20th. The core team participated, as well as the invites out to the stakeholders and boards, committees, and commissions. So we did have a pretty good turnout, 19 people in attendance for the first part. So 4 hours is a long time, but everybody afterwards said that it was a really good, mind-involved process. So our second part of our 8-hour requirement for this particular grant program will be taking place on the 27th, and we will take all the information gathered on the 20th and put it into action plan on the 27th.
I know the group I was in, Sandy Richter from Middleborough G&E, there were like 10 in each group. What an asset she was having her, especially for our vulnerabilities, especially during emergency situations and all the windstorm, a lot of, we had the mapping, just like we did at the master plan. So our grant application should look very good.
Nice.
I'm a little disappointed that I don't recall getting an invitation as my chairmanship of the Rent Control Board.
How dare they?
It was, apparently I was invited.
Well, and Twin Coach and Edgeway actually there's only one road in.
Right.
And one road out, just like Clock Shores and a lot of the shorefront communities.
Man enter, one man leave.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you for organizing, participating, and everybody who's doing this.
Long 4 hours.
Just on the other side of that, I added the MVP on the website, and so I have some photos up there too, so we have a presence.
Great. All right, so old business. Let's get a little bit of an update on the town hall redesign. I was in there this morning and I saw that the assessors
Me too.
have moved in.
I was shocked.
And
Yeah, there till
I wasn't
1:45 in the
really.
morning on Saturday.
so I know we've got the next phase, which is going to be starting, which is the treasurer collector's new office space, right?
We've ordered all, I didn't realize the file cabinets took so long, so those have been ordered. Nate is scheduling the construction to put in the window, move the door, schedule the tile and the painting. So that move should not take as long. It's really, Tom Robinson should be,
Does that mean it takes a year and a half?
No,
Oh, all right.
no.
Wanna
I would
give-
say when
wanna
the
give the
furniture,
projection?
when the furniture is delivered, because they need counter space.
I say
And
police
the wall.
station's done first.
Oh,
No, I
easy,
disagree.
Easy.
With
Easy.
the
All right,
extension.
the race is
Easy.
on. The race
Yeah.
is on.
Yep.
Which ribbon will be cut first?
Police station. My money's on police station.
Okay, my
I'd
money's
take
on
that
the
bet.
I
treasure
think Rita's
collector.
gonna be the one to cut the ribbon at town hall.
That's the
You
whole
and
move.
Nate together.
That's the
We're gonna
whole
have a
move.
giant thing of scissors.
Yeah.
Whole move down by the.
Everything's
plate.
completely
Not
done.
just the
Everything's done.
treasure,
Tom.
everything's done.
Oh, okay.
No, everything's done.
Everything's done.
I'm hoping
Everything's done.
before the new town administrator's hired. Yeah,
Rita.
Well, the bet
Okay.
is police station or town hall.
So,
okay.
all right, so community compact
And
grant.
We're gonna bet a bag of
So we're
Reese's
still
peanut
working
butter
on
cups.
We just got we still have to do the hiring policy, but we got a package from Libby Corbo today.
Okay.
On what she's done so far, because the deadline on this is June 30th, so we have to submit that.
So what's going on with the new police station? Says Aaron would like to get direction from the board relative to the communications with first responders.
Yes,
What
so
does that mean?
I wanna know what your thoughts are on the issue of setting up dispatch. We're setting up dispatch in the new police station. We're doing so to cover fire and police. And we're doing it in a way to create a communication system relative to that new station. In the subcommittee, or I should say the building committee, we had a conversation regarding the scope of that communication system. And I really think it got beyond the scope of that building committee, and I wanted to get some direction from what your expectations were as the Board of Selectmen relative to townwide communication. I had a separate meeting with Frank and Pomeroy about this, and Nate, and I'm of the opinion that the communication infrastructure we're doing at the police station level should be specific to that, and that if we want to take on and revisit or look at or overhaul or improve our communication systems townwide, that's really a decision that this board should make. It's beyond the scope of the police station building.
Well, are you talking about just related to police, or are you including fire, and what other type of communication services? Because I know we just approved those change orders, which were related to
Right.
the
Well,
repeater and the fire
It
dispatch,
has to be
but-
both because of the redundancy, or I should say, the dispatch being done for both with one department, if
Right,
you
but
will.
is there something I'm missing? So you've got police and fire, is there some third thing that you're talking about with communications?
No.
Okay, so I wouldn't mind just kicking this back to the police chief, fire chief, and Nate to talk about what they need so that they can come and talk to
Right.
the board about.
But I really think it's a capital thing that should be specific to this board, especially if you're gonna start getting into security and issues like that. It really should be done in executive
But-
session, and it should be done not within the building committee, because it's not communications that's specific to the building.
Yeah, I guess my question is, so what we approve with those change orders for the 160,000 or whatever it was,
I think it was
Is-
90.
190?
And actually, it's not a change
90.
order, it's an add-on,
Okay.
because
But is
Right.
that is separate from this? I mean, you guys haven't met since we had that meeting, so what happened or transpired in between the police station meeting where we approved that change order and this request? And maybe I just wasn't clear that that was
What happened
the
was.
conversation that should have happened at that meeting?
No, what happened was my brain worked. It doesn't always work instantly. And I had some conversations with Frank and Nate and Rick Pomeroy and Taylor about this issue, because to me, it was an issue at our last meeting that I was not clear on how I wanted to address it with this board. So I needed a little time to think that through and have conversations with those guys. So now that I've done that, this is what I'm basically saying is that what you just said, I think is the way I'd like to see it happen, where Mike, Frank, and Nate from the building side can coordinate among themselves and talk to the Board of Selectmen specific about what their communication needs are. And with that said, we are having the consultant do a little more comprehensive search, or I should say, a little more comprehensive study of what the needs are townwide, which I think will be a helpful tool, but I don't want to talk about that stuff at the building committee level anymore. And I want to
Right.
I want your blessing
Right.
to tell them, we're not doing this here. This is at the Board of Selectmen level, and it's something that really should be done in concert with the emergency response people in the Board of Selectmen in executive session.
But do we need any more capital equipment? I think we're straight on the capital equipment, or we're not?
Yeah, no, you are.
Okay, so.
Are we sure?
right.
So what are
Right.
we, okay,
So we audit all the capital equipment.
that's
We
what I
have the
thought from the last
repeaters,
time, right?
We have
Right.
radios, we have the communication equipment. The structure of what happens, this doesn't have to be resolved between now and when they move into the station.
No.
Yeah, I mean, if
Okay.
there's a
We're not looking
concern.
for capital.
We have everything we need for the
Yeah,
station.
so if there's a concern that we're just trying to tell the building committee that they don't need to be involved in this and they shouldn't be involved in this because this is actually a town issue, I'm completely fine with saying that. And if this is a decision that our department heads are going to make for the safety and security of the town itself, that should not be discussed in a police station building committee, I'm happy to say that and have you say that back to them.
Well-
And if they want to
Right.
discuss it amongst themselves and come back to us in executive session to just brief us on what they're doing, I'm happy with that.
Right. Well, I wanted to make sure you understood that that was a thing, but that it really needs to be dealt with by this board and working with Mike and Frank.
Yeah.
In executive session.
I guess-
And I don't wanna say any more about it because we're in
Right.
open session, but
Right.
that's really the tenor
No,
of where I'm going
I'm
with this.
fine with that, and I think that that's gonna be the one piece, and I know we just, voted on changing the charge, but somehow we need to make sure that anything that is not within the purview of that committee is not discussed at that committee level,
Sure.
And I think that's the benefit of having a member of the Board of Selectmen. Again, it's only a couple more months, but I think that I'm perfectly fine with that.
I just want to make sure that someone's not going to say, well, I need $200,000 more for communication. I don't think we have any capital coming
No, no.
our way.
No.
We've already
I thought we already.
We've already
We just did
approved all
that
that.
because the
Right, okay.
communication budget was
Right.
that line item was underfunded, and it was done prior to having the survey done by the expert, and when that came
Right.
back, it was like, well,
Yeah.
you wanna do X,
I mean,
Y, and Z.
So, I mean,
Because-
I can talk to Frank about that too, and just say, look, do you wanna come in front of us? If there's something that we need to talk about in executive session, as long as
Yes.
it's authorized, we
Yes.
can have that meeting and put them
Certainly.
on for executive session.
Certainly.
It's fine with me.
Yeah, so that's really it for that. I mean, that doesn't require a vote or anything. I just wanna give you an update and
Okay.
tell you kind of where that
Because on the
was at.
fire capital, a year out has been that gigantic number that I hope is encompassed
I-
in what we just did.
No,
Oh,
no.
so you're gonna tell me we still have to spend a couple $100,000?
well, and I just
I
happened to
don't-
find all that work. That's for the south part of Lakeville.
Well,
We can
let's-
talk about
yeah,
that in
let's talk-
executive
yeah,
session.
I think you're right
Yeah.
though, John. I think it's encompassing
Yes, that's
that, or
gone.
some of it as well.
That's
So
gone.
let's make sure that that's the conversation that we have.
Yeah.
For the purpose that they want it.
I'm not
Right.
gonna build a police station
Right, I know.
and then get hit with $200,000
Right,
worth of
Exactly, so
communication
let's,
equipment.
let's set them up to come in and have that conversation then. And then the second piece is you'd like us to reconsider the vote on March 11th regarding AP Whitaker's contract extension.
Yes.
So. if you
So
wanna
I had a
give some-
conversation with Pomeroy the same day I talked about this other stuff and some other stuff. And I thought of something that I didn't think of when we voted on this at the end of the meeting, when we were all exhausted and we weren't, and I personally wasn't thinking of this, nor was anyone else. There's a couple problems we have with what the vote we took. And so the new information I'm putting forward relative to why we should reconsider is, first of all, we had this letter from Pomeroy that kind of spelled out the circumstances from their viewpoint. But more importantly, I thought of this. We have two separate contracts with two vendors, and what we did with our vote is really ask them, or I should say, try to exercise our rights within one against the other. So there's two separate contracts. Those two parties don't have what's known as privity of contract. We can't say to one, you work it out with him. We don't have the authority to do that. So if we want to have Whitaker not be charged, that's an independent action from somebody else paying Pomeroy. Okay? They're two separate things. We can't say to Whitaker, you should have to pay Pomeroy. There's no contract between them to do that. They both work independently, or I should say, are in contracts independently with the town. So if we want to, we can extend Whitaker's contract, and if we want to, we can not pay Pomeroy, but we can't, we have no legal authority to say from one to pay the other.
Well, right, I don't believe that was the intention of the vote. The vote was intended that we find a way such that the town is not out of pocket. So in the event that Whitaker owes us money for the extension of the contract, because there's a $1,000 per day fee associated with extending the contract, because there's a penalty associated with it, that we would not be granting one the ability to not have to pay the fee and then also be out of pocket to the other. So I think
Right.
that it wasn't, because the vote was contingent upon it being cost neutral. but it wasn't extending the contract. But did the police station building committee already extend the contract?
They voted to recommend.
They voted to recommend
to
it.
extend it
Right.
back
Well,
then.
we can't, they couldn't
Right,
because
so
this board needed to
so the only
extend
vote
it.
that we made was, we'll do this if it's cost neutral. Now, what's
Wow.
the issue associated though with extending, if we don't extend substantial completion?
It's not, right, it's not cost neutral now, they're saying they'll do it for $15,000.
Right.
Or thereabouts.
Right,
Correct.
So it's not cost neutral.
And the liquidated damages.
Certainly, all, you know, it's water over the dam. All the reasons of change orders, this and that, listen, they sat on their ass all last summer when they should have been working. That's the long and short of it. But having said all that, here's where we are today.
yeah. Are you good with the
And
15
you're
grand?
gonna get stiffed, in my mind, for the 15 grand.
If you're okay
And
with
move
it,
on.
I'm okay with it, because again,
Yeah,
I
you gotta- you
agree,
gotta,
but,
you know,
And Nate
there's a
said
time
part of
to,
it.
there's a time to roll over, and this might be the time to roll over.
But part of that too, John, was natural heritage held us up.
No, I don't, listen,
They
Right,
couldn't
I
start
think-
without
no.
natural heritage.
I think that there's a counter to
Yeah,
every excuse
there's
that's
a
been
counter
provided,
to every one
there's
of
a
them.
counter to it, but I think, I believe that Pomeroy has done a good job. I believe that this, to a certain extent, was unforeseen by them. And one of the reasons why is that, well, again, there's
Right.
there's an
We're
excuse
here.
on either
We're
side.
here today.
It's a matter of whether you wanna,
Right.
you know, honor the contract we have with them, provide them for the services that they're going to provide, or pay them for the services they're going to provide to us, that if not, comes out of pocket for them, and I don't wanna do business that way. I think that they've provided a great service to the town, and I think that what they've done by reducing their fee, shows that they're trying to help out to mitigate the impact of that. And I think $15,000, is a reasonable amount to pay for what they provide to us.
I would go along, it's too late in the game, I'd go along with that. You know, we sat there in the first week and said, better not do any change orders, better not do any change orders. They do change orders, which has nothing to do with the schedule, and now they stiff you. Not only for the 33 days, they stiff us for the 15 grand. But we're here. I'd approve the 15 grand, and move on.
Okay, well, I'll make that motion then.
That we're agreeing to pay Pomeroy the extension of the contract. That's your motion, I'm sorry.
Yes.
well, and also too, though, we'll have to then probably re-vote that we're extending the AP Whitaker contract independently also for
Yes.
33 days.
Yeah,
Yes, correct.
Okay,
That's my motion.
and you seconded it?
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
All right?
Aye. All right, update on the Route 79
They really, I
project.
should have said.
None, excellent, good.
I have a question on Route 79. When we go to town meeting in June, I'm thinking we should be looking for that
The
road
eas-
bond
I should have put that on
of
the
some
articles.
amount of money,
Oh.
so you can bring that up at the next meeting. So is that via an article, or what is that via? I don't want to miss that opportunity.
Yeah, so I
To do
think
that.
what we need to do is we need to set up a meeting to discuss putting that, well, I guess it's really putting that article,
But I'm glad you just, we've got to vote the takings. I didn't even think to put that on the annual town meeting.
so at the annual, we have to vote to the takings,
Yeah.
which we won't necessarily have a number on,
Well, no, well,
but we also
no,
need the
but we
road
have
bond.
plenty of, we shouldn't mix it all. We know that we're underfunded on route, we've got enough money to go up through and pay Beta, as an example.
Yep,
But we don't have any money for anything beyond that, and that's estimated by the state to be $2 million or more. So we need to bond, if you went and bonded, let's say, a minimum of 3 million, that would get you through Route 79.
Right.
And maybe something, maybe $1 million left over.
right,
If you did 5, you'd do more, but we need to go and at least ask the taxpayers for 3 million to finish
Right.
Route 79, because if we wait too long,
right,
and they say no, everyone's screwed.
Right, no, exactly. I mean, we need to sell that at town meeting, and so it needs to be on
I'll
the
put-
annual warrant.
And I'll look up, I don't know that for the easements and takings, there is a dollar amount. They gave me a sample bylaw,
Well,
so I'll put it on the April
The
2nd.
the attorney that was at District 5 from Copen and
Yeah.
Page, she should write what we're gonna ask at town meeting
Right.
for, not us.
Yeah,
And you should
right.
ask
So-
her to do that immediately.
Yeah,
So
and I'll
what-
have it for you April 2nd.
But-
Yeah, and what
but-
we can put on the April 2nd meeting too is just a discussion of the general big ticket items, and then we can schedule all the financial meetings that we need to kind of wrap up capital. You know, we can wrap up budget and things like that. I don't want to have a heavy meeting on the 2nd. I want to have that be kind of the overview of what we want to talk about, and then set up the meetings that we're going to have
I
those
don't want,
conversations.
right, I just don't wanna forget the roads.
Yep, exactly. Okay.
So it could be it could be Route
But what-
79, it can be another
But what
million,
about
or
the
it could be
road
all
bond for
mixed in.
Franklin?
It's the
Is that
same
gonna
thing.
be-
I
It
mean,
should be all
the
mixed
whole
in.
thing. It'll be
Okay.
all together because
Yeah.
it'll be for roadway projects. And that way,
Roadway projects-
if we end up with 4 million, then, and it costs us 1.5 or 2 million for
gonna
79, we
continue with
have the
roads.
others because we
Yeah.
have a whole map as to
Yes.
how we're gonna do that.
Yes.
So,
Yes, so it needs
Yep.
to be written detailed enough that we're not coming back saying, oh, we forgot to ask for the building for the hot box because the hot box is cheaper, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Get it all, the language.
yep. All right, excellent. The only other thing, I guess, is, the Council on Aging volunteer lunch, April 9th. Is that the tavern? Is that where it is? Okay,
I think so.
all right. Other than that,
Excuse me, Madam Chair, Rita, did you bring the appointment for the fire,
Oh,
junior call firefighter?
I got a couple of things. Any other business?
yes.
Okay, when the Board of Selectmen appointed the junior firefighter, we had her, Isabella's wrong first name, so if you could revote that appointment.
All right, so I will make a motion that we appoint as a junior firefighter, junior call firefighter, Isabella Johnson at 101 Circuit Lane, Lakeville, Mass. 02347, until July 31st, 2019.
Second that.
All those in favor?
All right?
Aye.
And then, if anyone is interested, I had to submit to DEP another submittal on the status for the gasoline spill. If you want me to forward it to you, every 6 months we have to do that.
I don't really, if you want to send it by email, that'd be great.
Okay? And then today I received a letter from ABC Disposal. Our contract runs out with them June 30th. I'll add this to the next agenda.
Okay.
But they're offering $82.50 per ton. We're at $78.50 per ton. Because this will have to go as a warrant article. I don't know how long we'll want to, he's offering a 1-year
Okay.
approval.
Okay,
And that would be on the special town meeting.
all right.
And that's it.
That being said, I will make a motion that we
Oh, wait,
enter.
wait.
Oh,
This is my last meeting. I want to take a minute and thank everybody.
I was gonna,
I've really enjoyed working with everybody, and I wanted to give Mitzi something that a friend of mine gave me a while ago that I never used, but I think that maybe as chair, she can use
for
it.
an unruly crowd.
Yeah, so maybe you can close the meeting with that. But
I do have to see
sincerely,
how-
I really appreciate, Rita, working with you and Tracy and of course
Thank you.
John and Mitzi, and it's been a great time, so.
6
thank you.
years, it
And
just
Lorraine,
flew
of course.
by.
I know, it
Yeah.
doesn't seem
Yeah.
possible, so thank you all.
So thank you.
You could run
Great working with
another
you.
Year or two.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no,
They come up 1 year at a time.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
all right, well, that being said, so I will make a motion that we enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions and preparations for negotiations with non-union personnel, specifically incentives for non-union employees, and pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, to comply with the open meeting law, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 22F, approval of executive session minutes for March 1st, 2019 and March 18th, 2019.
I'm sorry, March 11th.
Just kidding, March 11th and March 18th, and not return to open session. And I will punctuate that motion with a,
There's blues here.
Second
I'll
it, John?
second that.
oh, sorry.
And that, we scared the audience away. The audience is gone.
Volunteers.
Hollenbeck
I guess it's really close, I'm sorry. Aye. I should have kept it here.
Aye.
and Powderly.
Aye.